Well, ladies and gentlemen, sorry for being so late, guys. I got so much happening, but let's see what's going on in crypto today. Powell. The Federal Reserve is having a discussion on crypto payments. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Well, to be honest with you, the problem that we've got is the Federal Reserve has been throwing comments about crypto saying that stablecoins should be used for just payments. Do you understand what that means? It means that you're not going to have the yield being offered and it should exclusively be payments only. That is dead. Not interested in that. We want yield. We want to be able to put dollars to work and earn off that. But then what does that mean for crypto? It's just no good, because if they just want it for payments, it means that they would have to just use XRP, and XRP's been trying to do that just for payments and it's not got anywhere. So if they do turn stablecoins into just payments, that's a little bit of a problem for crypto. The current theme across the board, guys, is simple. We're seeing the dollar going up. Gold has just taken a shoe bag to the downside, only because it looks like trade tensions could be calming down. And then, of course, everyone's like, all right, is it possible that the CPI data is going to come in a little bit softer maybe? So investors are no longer seeking safe havens. Are they going to start going into risk? We've got the NASDAQ trading at significant levels. And the idea is that if everything's all good on that front with data, then we're going to get our interest rate cuts, aren't we? So why is gold going down? Yeah, there's a number of factors about gold going down. I've not taken any risk yet because it just feels weird in this market. Like, gold's taking a sharp move down. I'm waiting to see if it can actually base out and make a little bit of a move. I'm paying close attention to it, and it's just not stopped. And if money is coming out of gold, and we saw Bitcoin making a bit of a move to the upside earlier on, is the actual transition happening now? Investors coming out of safe havens and going into risk on? Does that explain why Bitcoin's moved up a little bit? Well, we're going to break it all down. I'm going to keep this live short and sweet for you and give you what you need to know so that you can go about your day. But let's just break it all down and understand what we're dealing with, as the market will be heading into an open in the next 20 minutes or so. So let's get with the program, gang. Here we go. So yeah, look, NASDAQ's making a little bit of an interesting move. Gold has just done something very interesting. It's just not stopping. And it is heading towards that. It's broken now, 4,200 on violet vectors right there. Just be very mindful, but it has come into a very interesting point, which usually can give a bit of a sign of a potential reversal. It has been going down and volume hasn't been massive on gold, but just be very cautious with these levels, because if the idea is we're going to get interest rate cuts and CPI data is going to come in softer, because that's what the projection is, then we can assume that they're using this move down in gold to buy it up to effectively then make the reversal back up. So I will pay strong attention to gold, especially at these levels, because we could get some form of a reversal, given that we've got violet vector candles coming into play. And if you watch last night's video talking about the vectors, this is where things are starting to develop. So now you want to pay attention to this range with gold. Now, just to put it into perspective overall, you can see here, stocks rally fades ahead of inflation and gold is slipping, of course, but there's more things to that. If we just go over, today we got big news. We got Netflix declaring their earnings, and then GE Aerospace, Coca-Cola coming out. Going then into tomorrow, you got Tesla. So the market is probably going to move itself in favor of that. And it's going to be interesting to see where Tesla ends up, given that Tesla is not stopping. It looks like it's doing really well. It's currently gapping down at the open, but I'm expecting Tesla to come back to this red vector candle at $468. So if the earnings do come in well for Tesla, then we can assume that Tesla is going to keep on marking higher. So I would be very cautious about trading over the next couple of days. It is a big week, guys, because we're getting, of course, the CPI data, as you can see down here. CPI data will be released, and investors are like, is it going to be good? I mean, look, they've got the year-on-year coming in at 3.1%, and then the CPI month-on-month at 0.4%, and the core price, which is what the Federal Reserve uses, is 0.3%. So if we do get higher rates of reading in the inflation, that's a problem for us, man. And where's that going to put us with the interest rates? Are we going to get the cuts? But we know that the guys are betting for it. We know that they want to see interest rate again. They want to see the interest rate cuts, and the bets have not actually changed at all, to be honest with you guys. If we go into it right now, it should come up. There you go. 96.7% in the current meeting of October. They're expecting rates to go down to 3.7 and 4% as the range itself. Now, going into crypto, it's a big day. So, reminder, Federal Reserve to host conference on Bitcoin and crypto payments today. Is this guy going to help us? I mean, what are you going to do, pal? You're just going to say crypto should be used for payments? Absolutely dead if he doesn't come out with anything. Quickly going over into the stablecoin market just to pay attention to it. So we're currently at the 307 billion. Well, let's just update it. Here we go. Yeah, 307 billion stablecoin. Just look at that. It's just going, man. That's where stablecoins are. And that's what the future of cryptocurrency, I believe, is going to be utilized as. It's going to be all about stablecoins. And then what comes with that? Regulation. So you can appreciate it's going to be a bit of a problem if we do have too much regulation. But more importantly, if they only decide to use crypto payments or stablecoins as just payments, no yield. You can't earn interest of it. That will be dead. Anyways, BlackRock, it's been up to something, man. It's been doing some maneuvering, okay? So 3 hours ago, it showed that it moved 16,000 Ethereum, got rid of a little bit of Bitcoin, and we're seeing a little bit more behavior on the Ethereum, another 13,000 on Ethereum. And we go over to Ethereum itself, you can see it's getting absolutely smacked. I mean, it's not doing too bad, to be honest with you guys. It is making a base right now, and it's coming into the previous areas that it moved away from at the start of the week, psychological levels. This is important. If they've come back to the same levels they moved away from, then we're effectively relying on the idea of the market triggering its memory again. So we need to pay attention to the levels. When you've got the psychological levels and prices at those points, pay attention because you're going to start seeing things develop and start making a little bit of a move to the upside is what we look for when they come back to the same zones they moved from. Just focus on these levels and the psychological levels. If you haven't got the hybrid system, go to the Traders Reality website. It's all on the homepage and you can add the indicators onto your TradingView platform. Now, quickly going over into other things as well. So going over into the order flow, I just need to understand where we are with open interest. As it stands right now, we're still not seeing any big levels of open interest coming into play with Bitcoin. Again, these levels up here are important because that's where most of the open interest resides. So the idea is that price is usually going to try and navigate towards those areas where they can transact. When you start to change the equivalence and show where the real open interest is, you can see there's open interest absolutely everywhere. But I have to do it at certain levels just so that I can see where the real interest is. Okay, so I've reduced it down a little bit. You can see we've got a level here which price had reacted from, so we can assume that we've got some short sellers inside of here. So that's where most people are activated, okay? But then when I remove and increase it a little bit more, I'm seeing the liquidity is all up here. And that's logically where we would assume Bitcoin is going to try and make its claim towards. Now, listen, if the CPI data does come in and shows that it's softer, then that's going to be great news because we're going to instantly get the rate cuts. Yields on the dollar are going to go down. Everyone's going to then plow back into gold. Everyone's going to go into the NASDAQ because things are going to be cheaper in the long run. So when my projection is we can assume that we're going to start seeing Bitcoin coming back up towards the all-time highs. But a lot of people are adamant that this is it now. There's nothing left to do. Crypto is done and Bitcoin will never go back to these levels. You've got to appreciate we are subject to macroeconomic data. We are subject to Trump. We've still got the trade and the China and the US trade story. If Trump turns around and says things are good between China and the US, everything's going to shoot up. All right. And if you've got earnings that are coming out that's really good, then that's going to give more of a reason for the market to continue to keep going higher. We're in the macro-driven environment, so please take that into consideration when you are trading across the board. Now, going over into Bitcoin order flow, I will say this, okay? There's not been that much liquidity. Look, you guys look at this every single day with me, okay? And you can see we don't have that much liquidity. It's like everyone's on the sidelines, and they probably are going to be on the sidelines throughout this week until we get the CPI data. That's when we're going to see the real commitment across the board. Just looking at everything, we can see there's not really that much activity happening. NASDAQ's not really made a move. S&P's pulled back ever so slightly. But you can see that Bitcoin has gone down. It's collected some of the bids. And now it looks like it wants to try and make a bit of a move up. But the volume's not there, which means that it's prone to volatility. Okay? Like usually when we look at this, we see big bouts of volume. We can see lots of orders. But look, it's empty. No one's really playing yet. Could it mean because we're going to hear something? I mean, Donald Trump today, he's not really doing too much. He's going to be participating in the Richard Nixon Architect of Peace Awards ceremony. Is he going to mention tariffs? Unlikely. What's he going to say? All right. And if he does say things are all good with China, then the market's going to move. All right. And then after that, he's going to have a Rose Garden Club lunch. So that could be a point that he could actually start saying things. All right. Just, let's talk about trade over lunch. You know the story. That's how it works. So, and he's going to then go and participate in a Diwali celebration. So it's very unlikely at the celebration he's going to talk about tariffs. But at the Rose Garden Club lunch, that could be a time where he could throw out some comments. So I'm looking at, he's actually posted right now on Truth saying, Oh, his posts are massive. All right, he's now talking about this story about the Middle East, saying that we have explicitly and strongly, with great enthusiasm, informed me that they would welcome the opportunity at my request to go into Gaza with a heavy force and straighten out Hamas. If Hamas continues to act badly in violation of their agreement, to behold, I told these countries and Israel, not yet. There's still hope that Hamas will do what is right. If they do not, and an end to Hamas will be fast, furious, and brutal. This guy's practically telling us that he's going to go to bloody war. Like, what is going on here? Anyways, let's just pay attention to what's going on with price action. Okay, so Solana's making a nice little bit of a bounce away. Again, cryptocurrency is currently surrounding itself around the psychological levels. When price is at these levels, you just really want to wait for things to start to move. All right, because they can just bounce and consolidate in this range and not go anywhere. And it's consistent. Why? Because we've got data coming out very soon. Again, we go over to gold and just look at how that's behaving. Down 3.44%. It's starting to make a little bit of a recovery from these lows right now. And you've got to appreciate as well, Bank of Japan have just now elected the new prime minister. Okay, and she's down with fiscal expansion. She wants to spend money. Usually when you're spending money, it's going to lead to a couple of things. Inflation. Well, Japan's got a problem with inflation anyway. I believe that Japan is going to start marking, it's going to go up, man. The yen is going to go up. That's my Bank of Japan increase rates target. I'm expecting them to shoot up soon. It's going to happen. And if the dollar dominance itself does come into play, because dollar right now has peaked out, and given that if dollar's going up, gold usually then tends to go down. So we're going to wait and see if dollar is actually peaking out at these levels, especially at 98.5. Still no appreciation, but just be very careful, because if dollar starts to get too expensive, that's when Japan are going to step in and want to increase their interest rates rather than buying dollars, which will then naturally force dollar down, assets down, and the yen up, euro up, and then there's a complete bad show across the board. But anyways, we'll talk about that another time. Any questions, guys? Hi, Tino. Can CPI softness create fake optimism just to fill the imbalances? It could create fake optimism, but the fact of the matter is inflation has been sticky, okay? So whatever reading it does come out as, they're going to perceive it as, well, inflation hasn't really gone up, neither has it gone down. It's still within certain ranges, okay? If we just go and have a look at the CPI or the core CPI, look at that. It's been going between 0.3 and 0.2. That's a core CPI. That's what the Fed uses, okay, as the main measure. You go to CPI year on year, you can see it's all over the spot. 2.3, 2.4, 2.7, 2.7, 2.9. Now they're expecting the next reading to come in at 3.1. So if they start to see a trajectory of growth in the CPI data, then they're going to have a little bit of a problem and start to maybe backtrack on their idea of interest rates. Now, given that the interest rates on the US are still at 4.25%, even if they do give us the rate cut at 4%, we are still in high levels of interest on the US dollar. If you go down here, you can see where we are. USD right now is 4.25, GBP is 4%, Aussie is 3.6, Canadian 2.5, New Zealand 2.5, Euro 2.15, and the yen at less than 0.5%. What's it telling you? Where is money really going? It's going over into these nations over here, the Aussie, the Canadian, the New Zealand, the Kiwi, Euro, and the yen. Why? Because it's too expensive to do dollars. And if it's too expensive to put dollars to work, then that means investors are going to naturally then be reluctant to buy bonds, because they're going to assume that whatever's going on economically speaking, and if you've got inflation and all that, they're going to want to have higher rates of return on the yields, which means that if we just go over to the yields right now and have a look at where we are with that, go to the 10-year and the 2-year, you can see the 2-year right now is marking lower, which is good news, because we want to see the yields going down and the bonds going up. If yields keep going up and the expectation is that they want higher rates of return, they will not go into the bonds market. They won't go into it unless they are satisfied with the yield. Now, because obviously dollars going up and trade tensions could be calming down, that's what's forcing investors to start putting risk back on again, okay? But at any moment, especially with the CPI data, if it comes in and it shows that it's higher, investors are going to say, you know what? If I'm going to hold dollars, I want a greater return for it. So even though the rates are at 4.25% right now, the yields could push that up, or the expectation of the future is to keep interest rates higher. Because if the yields keep going higher, then the Fed, in essence, is going to be like, well, if they're expecting it, then that means we should really keep prices at these levels, because there's no point in trying to cut if investors won't buy our bonds if they're going to demand higher rates of return. So we may as well keep our interest rates higher, and then, of course, we can earn more X, Y, and Z. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting story to say the least. Oh man, what is going on? This market is absolutely diabolical today. Anyways, Tina, Constantino Pistu. Why, man, you say my full name, man. Why is gold moving like this past few days? $150, $200 a day. What the F is that? Can you explain why all of a sudden it moves double than usual? It's because people are having to maneuver out of gold. There's profit taking coming into place. So we're just quickly going to gold right now. Yeah, there's profit taking happening. There's, of course, position building as well. I've said this to you. Gold will be back to these vectors, no doubt. It will come back to these points because we're in an easing cycle. All right. Interest rates are being cut, so it inversely does that. All right. But if we are still with political tensions, like what Trump's just put out, saying that he'll go on to town with the Hamas and what have you, that is going to force investors to be like, okay, I don't like that. And they're going to go into seek safe havens. So what you got to understand with the markets, every single day, they will transition. Markets and money will maneuver around assets based on what the day is being. But the bigger picture is interest rates are being cut. So if they say, right, we're just going to offload gold, they offload gold and they'll probably try and take advantage of some volatility elsewhere for the day. And they'll probably play some options, or they'll probably go into ETFs and just be like, okay, we'll just try and buy some spot ETFs on gold on discount because the future is suggesting that we are going to get rate cuts. So I'll be able to buy some gold ETFs on spot rather than take advantage of the volatility that's coming in on spot itself. So it's all it is, guys, is perception of value. That's what it is. All right. Right now, they think gold is overvalued, so they've marked it lower. That can easily trigger someone to say gold is at a discount. And that's where you'll then see the wild fluctuations, all right? Looking at the volatility of gold, as you can see, seeing as we've just been going up and up and up, and now they're just doing all of this, this is showing you that investors are trying to get in and respond to what's going on in terms of data and news. Every time, all this here is when Trump's been speaking, okay? He said what about China? He said, oh, it looks like things are all good, so investors don't need to worry about trade wars anymore. Gold goes down, okay? Then all of a sudden, we've had another meeting or something is said, and then gold goes back up again, or geopolitical, whatever it is, it goes back up again. Then we had the idea of trade tensions. He said, what did he say? Here we go. I'll just show you. No. Trump said it. He said, here we go. The market's focusing on progress in US-China trade talks, while President Donald Trump reiterated his threat to follow through on a tariff hike on Chinese goods if there isn't a deal by November 1st. All right, so look, investors, 1 minute he's saying we're not, next minute he's saying there will be, then we've got a deadline by the 1st of November, and then it comes towards the 1st of November, and he's like, don't worry, we're going to extend it. His playbook is exactly the same. So sometimes they will price that into the market. And then when he does say whatever he says, the market doesn't react because that's what we've been seeing. But when we haven't had any information about China and the US trade talks, which is what's been going on, when he says something about it, the market reacts aggressively, which is explaining why gold is behaving like this. So just keep an eye, keep an eye out on gold, especially at this level when 9K, when everything drops. That's what's going to happen. Volatility is what drives this market. Good for scalp and day trading. Correct. That's what it does. Volatility index, where you at? Right now, you're trading at 19. And I said to you all, when this marks up, okay, it's going to come down because they would have initiated the hedge. Well, now they've gone into risk. Okay. So the next thing is when's the next hedging event? What is the next event? If this story with Hamas is going to be a problem, VIX will move up. Gold will move up. If the China trade story is going to be a problem, VIX will move up. And that's how it works. Pay attention to the VIX. The VIX tells you where investors' heads are at in terms of in hedging and volatility. Because if they're going to hedge, it means they're going to remove assets. They're going to close off positions in high-risk assets like Bitcoin, Ethereum, NASDAQ, stocks, okay? And they're going to go into other assets, okay? They'll probably buy long VIX futures and what have you, okay? Oh, Circle. Let's go and have a look at Circle for a split second. I want to know if this stock is actually trading anymore. Symbol not recognized. Have they stopped it? No. Don't even tell me they've removed it. That is so bad. That is so bad if they've got rid of that stock. Here we go. Yeah, Circle's not really doing too much. Circle's not moving that much. It's just going sideways yet again. No real activity until another partnership comes into play with it. Just having a look at the volume. GSI Technology is what's actually making a big move right now. Clear P&L. What's going on here? Designs SRAM devices used in routers, switches, wireless base stations, WAN infrastructure access equipment. Wow. What's going on here? Volume is up 17,621%. What's going on? All right, guys, I need you to find out what's going on with here. Got some activity on this. They've obviously earnings per share is due in 2 days. It's a big gap up, man. Something is brewing with this. Something is brewing with this. Keep an eye out. GSI Technology, because that's coming in with massive volume. Laser Tech, Electro Semiconductor, again. Perimeter Acquisition, all right, finance banks, a new bank right now. Blank check company formed in order to acquire and merge one or more businesses. Blank check company, no way. Tactical sector. Yeah, man, look, we've got 2 tech stocks up here that have had massive volume. Volume is up 2,135% on this one. Electro Semiconductor Equipment, Japan-based company. I'm telling you, listen, Japanese companies are going to smash it. They are, especially ones that are listed on the US stock market. Why is Warren Buffett so heavily invested in Japanese stocks? Okay, my advice to you is this. Go and seek JP Morgan Japanese ETFs. Go and seek those, all right? I'll give you a ticker, JPJ. Go and have a look and get involved in those, because it's all happening in Japan. All right? Cool. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, mad love and respect. I'll be tuning into you all later on. I think we're going to do another whiteboard game.